Hi everyone, I'm Hyunju. Earlier this year, I took my very first trip to Europe, and it was truly unforgettable. And it wasn't just my first trip to Europe. It was also my very first cruise. I went on this adventure with my younger sister, Hyunju. She lives in Dallas, Texas, while I'm based in Sacramento, California. Because Hyunju has a lot more travel experience than I do, I leaned on her completely for this trip. For months before we left, she researched everything online, from booking the cruise to organizing all the sightseeing tours at each port. She put in so much effort and, honestly, she was stressed out long before the trip even began. But since we lived so far apart, we had to book our flights separately. Our plan was to meet in Barcelona, Spain, and board the cruise together. My route was from Sacramento to Minneapolis, then on to New York's JFK Airport, and finally to Barcelona on Virgin Atlantic. Hyunju's route was from Dallas straight to JFK, then on to Barcelona with Delta. Everything seemed perfect. Hyunju had about 2 hours to make her connection at JFK, while I had only an hour and a half. I was nervous. What if something went wrong? And that's exactly where our problems began. 2 days before our departure, in mid-February, a blizzard warning was issued for the U.S. East Coast. News reports kept saying flights might be delayed or canceled. Both of us were scared we might miss the cruise altogether. Thankfully, on the day of our flights, there were no weather issues at any of the airports we were traveling through. But while I was waiting for my flight from Minneapolis to New York, I received shocking news. Hyunju had missed her plane. In all the excitement, she hadn't noticed. The gate had suddenly changed. If she couldn't make it, our entire cruise could be ruined. But Hyunju quickly pulled herself together and asked the airline staff for help. She managed to get on the next fastest flight, but it would land at New York's LaGuardia Airport, not JFK. LaGuardia is about 10 miles from JFK, and during rush hour it can take at least 45 minutes by taxi. Meanwhile, I had already arrived at JFK and gone to my boarding gate for the Barcelona flight. When we booked months earlier, I had reserved Virgin Atlantic, and Hyunju had booked Delta, so we assumed we were on completely different planes. But when Hyunju called me and gave me her gate number, I realized it was exactly the same as mine. I asked an airline agent at the gate, and the agent confirmed,
"You're actually on the same flight."
I couldn't believe it. Later, I noticed my ticket said, Virgin Atlantic Delta Airlines operated, a codeshare flight I had just overlooked. Finding out we were on the same plane filled me with hope. I stood at the very end of the boarding line, praying Hyunju would make it on time. And then a miracle happened. Hyunju had originally booked a noon flight from Dallas to JFK, but after missing it, she had no choice but to take a flight that departed an hour later for LaGuardia instead of JFK. Amazingly, despite leaving an hour later, that flight landed at LaGuardia about 30 minutes earlier than its scheduled arrival time, giving her just enough time to race to JFK. Thanks to that, she jumped into a taxi, raced across the city to JFK, rushed through security, and reached the gate just minutes before boarding closed. When I saw her running through the gate, I thought, this has to be God's grace, a true miracle. We hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. It was an unforgettable moment, but our seats were far apart. Hyunju in the very front of economy, me in the back. Then another small miracle. The seat next to her stayed empty even after boarding finished. Yunju bravely asked a flight attendant,
My sister's on this flight but seated way in the back. We're traveling to Barcelona together for a cruise. Could she move to this seat next to me?
The attendant kindly agreed and came over to tell me I could move forward. I dreamed of crossing the Atlantic with my sister sitting right next to me. And now it was actually happening. I was overjoyed. During the 7 hours and 40 minutes from New York to Barcelona, Yunju and I sat side by side, sipping wine, sharing the in-flight meals, and talking nonstop. It was the perfect beginning to an unforgettable journey. And by the way, our Mediterranean cruise route was just incredible. We sailed from Barcelona, Spain, to Marseille in France, then on to Genoa and Naples in Italy, Palermo in Sicily, La Goulette in Tunisia, and finally back to Barcelona. Each stop was full of culture, history, and unforgettable views. But looking back, that perfect start also came with an important lesson. Never book a same-day flight to catch a cruise. If we had truly missed our flight, we could have lost thousands of dollars and the entire cruise. If you can, arrive at least 1 day before your ship departs, or even 2 days earlier if possible. Not only is it safer, it's also a chance to relax and enjoy the city before boarding. Reflecting on it now, we had planned to do our Barcelona sightseeing after the cruise. But now I think if we had arrived early and strolled the old town or visited Sagrada Familia beforehand, our trip would have been even richer and calmer. Thankfully, we were able to board the cruise almost like a miracle. But the tension and anxiety of that moment are still vivid in my memory. From now on, I'll always plan to arrive at least a day or two earlier so I can stay safe, explore the city, and start my cruise with peace of mind. If you're planning a cruise, I hope my experience can be a small help to you. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.